Hi, I'm Anna. I'm founder of the Student Grief Network, and I wanted to talk today about what grief actually is and how it can impact us because it's often misunderstood or simplified when really it's quite complicated and it affects more of us than we might realise. Throughout the video, I'm going to use the terms loss and grief. Loss is generally when I'm referring to an event, and grief is referring to the reaction. We often have this perception that grief is just sadness and missing a person, but actually, it can involve so many emotions, physical reactions, social and behavioural changes, and more. And I'm going to cover some of that today. I'll start by saying that grief is a natural and normal response to loss. So, this could be the loss of a person, but we also grieve when we lose other things in our life. The loss of our health, for example, the breakdown of a relationship, realizing that a dream we had won't come true, and social and political injustices we might be witnessing in our communities or around the world. Today, I'm going to be focusing on grief following a bereavement, which is when someone significant has died. This could be a friend or a family member or someone important in our community. It might be that we had a great relationship with this person, but we can also grieve following a difficult relationship. Maybe a parent that wasn't there for us in the way that we needed, or an ex partner, or anything else that might feel a little bit less straightforward. There are a number of typical emotions we can experience in grief. So, for example, sadness, which can lead to crying, but not always, as well as shock, anger, anxiety, guilt, fear, and even positive emotions like relief, gratitude, and joy. Some of us might find it hard to connect to our emotions at all and feel numb and disconnected. That doesn't mean that you don't care about the person or that you're not impacted by the loss, but maybe we're just finding it hard to process the reality of what's happening and protecting ourselves by disconnecting. Our bodies also respond to loss, so we might experience changes to our sleeping patterns, for example, or digestive issues, loss of appetite, or maybe eating more than we normally would. Lots of people experience high levels of exhaustion during grief, feeling really, really tired. We might experience aches and pains and all sorts of other physical symptoms as well. Grief can also impact our ability to concentrate and cognitive functions like memory and information processing. So that can affect us, particularly if we're a student. Grief also can impact our relationships. So, for example, if the people around us don't understand or perhaps are dealing with the same loss but in a different way, which can cause friction, tension, misunderstandings. Grief can also strengthen relationships, so it can help us connect with people over something meaningful and through supporting each other. It's really common to find that a whole dynamic in a friendship group or a family changes when someone dies. Loss also can have practical impacts, so changing our financial situation, for example, adding additional responsibilities like having to look after other family members or suddenly having to do stuff by yourself that you previously relied on this person for. It might change where you go home in the holidays, or perhaps mean you don't have a home to go back to at all. Losing someone can really change our whole perspective on the world. In some cases, it can make us more fearful and pessimistic, kind of makes us aware that serious things do happen in life, and we might feel less carefree than people around us or than we used to be. But it can also help us put things in perspective, to really stop and think about who we are and what we want from our lives, and to create something meaningful for that, for our futures. It's worth saying that grief doesn't have a timeline. For many of us, it's really intense in the first few weeks and months after someone dies, but it can also impact us before the death. So, for example, if someone's unwell and we're anticipating them dying, and it can also impact us months and years down the line. Despite what we might think, grief doesn't stop when the funeral ends or after that first year anniversary. It ebbs and flows. Some days we might start feeling better, other days we might feel really raw again, and that's completely normal. I guess the main takeaway is that grief is different for everyone, so it can't be easily defined. There's lots of things we haven't mentioned in this video that you or someone you know might experience. It really is a unique thing to go through. Although losing someone is often described as one of the hardest things you can go through in life, we can find ways to process this, not necessarily move on, but to carry it with us as we build a meaningful and happy life despite everything that's happened. Doesn't mean that that's going to be easy or a perfect journey, but it definitely is possible.